Now, this is part two of the saga of the 75-year-old man, Terence William Brazil, now faces multiple charges linked to the fatal stabbing of 61-year-old Susan Dillow inside his Stewart County residence. The Stewart County Sheriff's Office spokesperson, Paulette Redmond, confirmed that deputies arrested Brazil the morning of the stabbing. The arrest followed the discovery of Dillow's body the previous day. In the first video, you got to see the interrogation of Terence Brazil. Now let's see more details of this case. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video, and let's get started.
All right, so do we have a technical difficulties where we are able to hopefully record with sound? All right. Anything before we bring the jury in then? All right. Bring the jury in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize again for the delay. We're kind of using some masking tape to try to repair everything that we can before we can get up and running. So I appreciate your patience. We are now ready for the opening statements. As I've explained to you, the state will have the opportunity to speak first, and following that, the defendant may make a statement. So the state may address the jury.
Ladies and gentlemen, on October 19, 2021, Miss Susan Dillow was murdered on 154 Missouri Road. She was sitting on her couch inside her home, and she was stabbed with a butcher knife numerous times. Stab marks and entry wounds entered her lung, her aorta, heart, other places. She died sitting on her couch. Never stood up. The defendant in this case has confessed to this murder. But as you know, a confession alone not prove beyond a reasonable. So the following are the facts the state intends to prove at this trial. On the morning of October 19, 2021, defendant Ms. Dillow, who had been living together, not married, but had been living together and partners for a long time, they got into an argument. And the defendant, after the argument, wanted to cool down, left the house. It was Kia Sorrento PM. And he drove over to Dollar General, and you're going to see a receipt from Dollar General, 11:01 a.m. October the 19th. And this receipt shows that the defendant had purchased a bag of Hershey's Kisses almond. He then returns home. You're going to hear his confession. You're going to see the evidence that corroborates his confession. The evidence is going to show that he returns home. He approaches Miss Dillow, who's on the couch, tablet in hand, using the Wi-Fi, and he presents her this bag, Hershey's Kisses almond. He then goes into the kitchen on the cabinet, removes the butcher knife, comes back, and goes on the couch next to her and stabs her. At that point, the defendant then takes the butcher knife into the kitchen, washes it, places it in the sink, takes his clothes off, changes clothes, takes a shower. Now you're going to see evidence at the trial. Miss Dillow's DNA on the butcher knife. You're going to see her DNA and blood on the defendant's clothes. You're going to see his DNA on his clothes, showing ownership and possession of his clothes. You're then going to hear proof that the defendant leaves his house and he drives to the bank, and at approximately 12:49 p.m. on October 19th, he withdraws $300 cash. From there, he drives towards West Tennessee. And we know the proof will show that he went to West Tennessee because his Kia Sorrento license plate was picked up in what they call the license plate reader, LPR, in numerous locations, including Silver, Henderson, a couple of other towns in the West Mississippi. He then drives back home. He calls 911 at 6:55 p.m. on October 19th, 2020. Law enforcement, EMTs, and ambulance arrive at the scene. His statement to law enforcement at the time at the scene was that he arrived home to find her deceased. That's his initial statement. Law enforcement also calls the TBI to help investigate crime scene investigation. In conducting the crime scene investigation, you will see that Mr. Brazil, the defendant, is removed from the house. He's not placed under arrest. He's not in handcuffs. He's not in custody. But it is cold outside. He's given the opportunity to sit in the back of one of the patrol cars while the crime scene, the interior of the house, is being investigated and evidence is being collected. And at some point, he does take advantage of that opportunity and goes and sits in the back of one of the patrol cars. Miss Dillo and the defendant together had a little dog, a little bit, small dog. This dog was also in the house. Law enforcement removed the dog from the house. The defendant asked for the dog to be in the car with her. At some point in time, while the defendant is sitting in the back of the car, deputies continue to go over and check on him. He asked for a knife. And asked why he wanted a knife. He said to take care of it. Well, they refused to give him a knife. A few minutes later, they go back to check on the defendant sitting in the back of the patrol car and find the dog, which is going to be approved and see charged. As the crime scene is being investigated, the defendant voluntarily goes with the TBI to give an report. As I said, you will see soon and hear it. He's going to describe in detail how this homicide occurred. He knows details you will hear in this video of this crime scene that only he would know. Everybody knows. He demonstrates on video how he stabs Miss Dillo. An autopsy of Miss Dillo was conducted. This autopsy will hear testimony from the medical examiner describing numerous entry wounds from the butcher knife to Miss Dillo's chest area, dissecting the heart, and also what's called defensive wounds on her arm, where she was trying to defend herself from the stabs. Numerous stabs. You're also going to hear proof in the DNA laboratory under her fingernails, as well as fingernails, because the DNA also evidence proof that she was trying to defend herself in this attack. At the conclusion of the proof, you're going to hear in his own words says that he was not mad. Proof will show that he went to Dollar General at a cool down period after the argument. His decision to kill was premeditated. Conclusion of the proof, we're going to ask you to convict him of premeditated first-degree murder, false reports of law enforcement, and also cruel.
Mr. Clemens?
No statement, Your Honor.
All right, statement, call your first witness.
The state and the defense have an agreed stipulation to enter a life photo of Miss Susan Dillo as
All right.
exhibit number 1.
Exhibit 1.
Photo will be published to the jury.
Mark it as exhibit 1 and it's been published to the jury on the screen. You want the hard copy to be published to the jury?
Screens.
Right, thank you. Then you may call your first witness.
State calls Tamara Hawkins.
Stand right here, raise your right hand, face the clerk, if you sworn, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I'll just step there, please.
Ms. Hawkins, would you spell your full name for the record, please?
Yes, Tamara, Tamara, Hawkins, Hawkins.
And could you tell us where you're employed
I'm employed with Stewart County Emergency Management.
and what do you do there?
I'm a 911 dispatcher,
How long have you been working in that capacity?
7 years.
7 years. So were you working on October 19th of 2021?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall getting a call about someone that was deceased?
Yes, sir.
I ask you to scoot up that microphone a little bit closer, and we've been having technical problems, so I want you to speak loudly into the microphone.
Yes, sir.
Could I play just a snippet of something? I want you to tell me if you can identify it, please.
911 location emergency.
Do you identify that person?
Yes, sir.
Who is that?
That's myself.
Do you recall this?
I do.
Oh, this one, okay. I'm gonna play it right now.
911 location emergency.
Yes, I just came home. Susan Hill, it was stabbed. Yeah,
She is, okay.
What did he say?
That, so he just came home. Susan Miller had been stabbed. I'm a one location emergency.
yes, I just came home. Susan Hill, it was stabbed. Yeah,
She is, okay. How old is she?
61.
Okay. And you know, when was the last time you seen her online?
But this morning,
Okay. All right, is your address 154 Commissary Hollow Road?
yes, it is correct.
Does she have any health problems?
Well, she had multitude of yes.
Sorry. What is your name, sir?
My name is Terence Brazil, like the country.
We're gonna get some units out there to you, okay? Is there anybody
Okay,
I
I
can
appreciate
call for you?
No,
Okay. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get several units out there to you, okay?
okay,
All right, we'll get them out there in a few minutes, okay?
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Your Honor, I asked that they make the state's next exhibit.
Exhibit 2.
I pass a witness, Your Honor.
Clemens, any cross-examination?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down and you're released from your subpoena. Call your next witness.
The state we call investigator Zach Brazil.
Step right up, please. Raise your right hand and face our court.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
State your name before, please, sir.
Zachary Grizzard,
How do you spell your last name?
Grizzard.
All right, how are you employed, sir?
I'm an investigator now. At the time of the incident, I was a deputy sheriff with the sheriff's office.
Stewart County Sheriff's Department?
Yes, sir.
All right. And since then, you said you've made investigator?
Correct.
So back directing your attention to October the 19th, 2021, you were on the road as a deputy. Is that
Correct.
right?
Yes, sir.
Did you get a call to go to 154 Commissary Hollow Road in Indian Mound?
Yes.
Is that in Stewart County?
Yes,
All right. And did you arrive on that scene?
I did.
About what time of day was it?
I believe it was close to 7 p.m. roughly.
What time did you come on shift that day?
6 p.m.
So it was close to the start of your shift?
Correct. Yes.
Was it nighttime at that point?
It was dark outside. Yes, sir.
And what was the temperature like?
It was, I believe, mid to low 40s.
A little chilly.
Yes.
When you made this, well, let me ask you this, what did the call come out as? What did dispatch tell you?
It came out as a medical call that the individual that was found deceased had a long list of medical issues. And that I believe the last time somebody had seen her alive was that morning.
So you weren't told anything about anybody being stabbed when
No.
you go out to the scene?
No, sir.
Does that change how you approach the scene a little bit if you saw
Absolutely.
someone stabbed?
Absolutely.
When you got to the scene, was your body camera, let me ask you this, did you have a body camera at that point?
Yes, I did.
Was it rolling when you first got to the scene?
No, we had just received new body cams sometimes shortly, and sometimes whenever you activated the button, I may not have pressed it correctly, and it might not have turned on until after I made contact.
But you did get it going at some point. while you were
Yes.
out there. So let's talk about what happened before the body camera came on. What happened when you first got on scene? What did you see?
I parked near the driveway. There was the little bridge style leading up across the driveway, and it didn't appear that it would support the patrol vehicle, so I just parked on the side of the road, and I made my way through the front yard up to the front door. As I was approaching the steps to the covered front porch is whenever the main door of the house opened up. And I seen a male individual standing behind the screen door.
And who was that male individual? Was he
Mr.
later identified?
Yes, he's later identified as Mr. Terence Brazil.
Is this Mr. Brazil?
Yes.
You see him in the courtroom? All right. And so you said as you were coming up the stairs, he was coming out of the door of the house?
Yes, he had opened the main door, standing behind the screen door.
What happened then?
I asked him where Miss Dilla was. He said right here. And shortly thereafter is whenever my body cam was actually activated.
Before your body cam was activated, did you actually step into the house with Mr. Brazil to view Miss Dilla?
Yes,
And what did you see at that
I
point?
seen Miss Dilla laying on the couch, love seat. I'm not sure if it was a couch, but laying, blood covering the couch, covering Miss Dilla. And that's whenever it appeared to me that something more than natural causes had taken place. That's whenever I asked Mr. Brazil to step outside and sit on the front porch due to them being a crime scene.
Is there anyone else in the home at that point?
Not to my knowledge, no.
It was just Mr. Brazil and Miss Dilla.
Correct. And there was a dog there as well.
Was the dog inside the house?
Yes,
So then you activated your body cam.
correct.
What did y'all do at that point?
We just sat there and I had asked Mr. Brazil basically what kind of medical problems Ms. Dill had, and he went through the list of, I believe lung cancer was probably about it. That's my knowledge, it was the leading thing that he said.
Most serious medical concern
Correct.
there was. Right. And have you reviewed the body cam with me for today?
Yes,
And some of it's cut out to just get to the pertinent parts. Is that correct?
correct.
Was that an accurate reflection of the events of that night?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I do the direct from over there to get out of the jury's way?
You
to
may.
see the TV? Take this with me. All right, let's get rid of the good flavor first. Please. And if you could pause it. Let's get it. Start again. Investigator Grizzard, is this your body camera footage that you recall?
Yes,
All right, who are we looking at right here?
Mr. Brazil.
And when your body cams first turn on, is there volume at the very beginning?
No, there's a brief time, there's no audio. I'm not sure exactly the exact time.
Let's go ahead and play it.
What's your name, partner? How do we spell you? It's Gary. Terry, yeah. What's your last name? Brazil, please. Okay, okay. And, that's like another I'll talk to you. I'm David Grizzard, by the way.
The message that said that he was coming, when he comes down or back or something, that he was gonna, I don't know what to call it.
Pause it. But what's he talking about there?
He's referring to, I believe, a message from Mikey Dillo, was Miss Dillo's son. Some Facebook message that they had exchanged. I don't know the full details on it.
Is there a lot of talk in this video about Mr. Dillo?
Yes.
The son, Mr. Dillo?
Correct.
Continue.
All right, like I said, just hang out around here for me, okay? Hello. Oh, seven. Oh, seven. And call 08. Yeah. 9111 Central. Can you contact 08? See if he can be en route. If not, 26.
Let me call it. Investigator Grizzard, when you're talking about 07 or 08, what's going on there?
08 is investigator Dana Salthill's badge number, and 26 was investigator Lee Miller's badge number.
So is it at this point you determined that this isn't natural causes, we need to get an investigator out here?
Correct, yes, sir.
Well, I mean, we're good. We just gotta. Hey, big knife in the sink with blood on it. Oh, yeah. This changes. I could just have you hang out at.
So were you doing, what were you doing looking around the house there?
Just making a quick security sweep. I didn't enter the adjacent bedroom next to Miss Dillo on the couch because I didn't want to possibly disturb anything that was on the floor. And I just briefly checked in the bathroom, and whenever I walked into the kitchen, it appeared that side door led outside. That's why I didn't approach it any further. And that's whenever, as I stepped forward, that's whenever I noticed the knife in the sink, and that's whenever I walked over to it to see it.
Describe the appearance of the knife.
It just had a reddish tint to it, I'd say. It looked like it had been washed off.
But what part of it appeared to have been washed off?
Most of the knife.
Okay, like the whole thing appeared to have been
Correct,
washed?
yes.
Did it still have some of this reddish stain that you're?
Reddish brown stain, yes.
For us, okay. Do you know where she keeps her ID at?
I believe it should be in her purse, it should be hanging on the tree right there.
Hang on the tree right here, okay. And do you have ID on you?
We kind of skipped the part here where you had to go talk to somebody else.
Correct.
At this point, is Deputy Taylor and EMS personnel inside the house?
Yes, they're attaching the leads to confirm that she was in fact deceased.
So you come back and have a fairly lengthy conversation with the defendant in this case.
Yes.
Continues.
What's her first name? What's her first name?
Susan?
Susan? Susan?
Yes. Yojina.
Oh, I can, that's all I need right there, partner.
What's her last name?
Dill, Dill.
So if I got a 2729 hard copy and old when ready. Be Tennessee OLN 121-781-221. Central. The number is gonna be 121-781-221. Maybe sixes and sevens and threes. She probably read the wrong one on her notepad. If you could just hard copy and hold that, please. Should be a purse hanging on the tree to get her ID. You know where she keeps it at in here? Maybe that big wallet right there, that'd probably be a good indication. I didn't see his purse. It's hiding in there. What are some of her medical problems that she had?
She has lung cancer.
Lung cancer?
Lung cancer. She has hip problem.
Knee replacement?
No. Her son is in pissed off at her. And he came down here a few days ago.
I'll talk to him.
So Investigator Brazil, we see you're asking about Ms. Dillo's medical issues, and then does Mr. Brazil just jump back to the son,
Yes,
talking about issues with the son and what's been going on with him, or what he says has been going on with him?
yes,
I mean, that was unsolicited by you, is that right?
correct.
Right. Right.
I said, 75 years old, I said, I'm not going to do it. I said, you know, you see, find something else. Well, I'm under short of it, we got into a tangent. What we do is we fight forward, so scramble. So what we do is I get in the car and I'll drive away, and I'll drive away maybe 20 minutes.
Go, let cooler heads prevail a little bit.
I want to, I thought I'm not a candy car guy, but a lot of other things. Just
Terrible thinking.
so anyway.
Investigator Brazil, was he describing some fight or argument that he'd had with Ms. Dillo that morning?
Yes,
What do you recall about that?
just the argument that, as he stated, she was wanting him to clean out the vehicle of their yard sailing. Items that they got into an argument about him not wanting to do it due to his age. He basically, as he stated in the recording, that told her to get on Facebook, and that they've got an argument. He thought he needed to drive to go cool off so that they, I guess, something physical didn't occur. And that's whenever he had bought the small gift.
Stand by, I'll give you a public service here for you. I'm still listening to you. I just got a lot of chatter going on in my ear.
So, listen. She said her son was coming back. And I
Today?
wanted that I crawled out the fucking door, I climbed in the goddamn car, and I drove and drove and drove. But she said, good. She said, for some reason, she said, I'll take care of myself. I said, I'll stay with you, she said. So,
who's her son?
Pause in history. I believe we skipped forward a little bit from somewhere else that we had to go. So there was some talk there about her son coming, so he just left.
Correct.
Where did he tell you that he went?
Jackson at some point.
Just drove.
Drove and
Far
drove.
away. Drove and drove. And that's, Ms. Dillo had told him to just go. Was that the report that he gave to you?
Correct, yes.
And then we start talking about the son again, I believe.
Yes.
Mikey Dillo, is it Michael, or do you think?
yeah,
Okay.
he came to visit us. And
What kind of person is Michael?
Huh?
What kind of person is Michael? Like
Violent.
violent?
Violent.
Does he use illegal narcotics that you're aware of, or anything of that sort?
So he thought it would be great to have edible.
Okay.
So he said, we can go to Illinois and get edible. So we went to Illinois and we got some edible. But then he said, well, look, let me go ahead and get by a little bit. It's really strong and it made my health okay. So we came home and tried to get edible. And they seemed to work. So that's cool. But we went back twice.
You said they seem to work. What did she?
But she gave it the help with her stomach.
Yeah, okay.
When you've got cancer and you're doing that.
The chemo and stuff?
Yeah.
So it was helping her like be hungry and eat and whatnot. Okay, okay.
No.
We'll continue on. Sorry to interrupt you. I was just-
So when he came down, bottom of
Okay.
Daddy what the truck looks like now.
Yeah.
He got mad. Up the hill. And in Sherry's house.
Sherry, top of the hill?
Yeah.
Carlson?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he got mad. He got down. They got mad at us and went back to Indiana.
Okay.
Then he called back, we went up there and got him. He was just as friendly as that. So talking to him, I told him, I said, well, as long as you're here, I said, you can just relax. I said, you don't have to go right to work. We'll do. And we seem like we did.
Right.
So the second time he came, we made an offer. You can either get a job. I took. Or you can go to the better. He had always wanted to be second candidate. So we gave him all our money that we got from the shit. And now
Right.
we had first, well, I think I had 9,000, and then he had 600, and then an amount came from his retirement or something. He went to Nevada. Well, we thought that he was going to stay down here in the court and I'd be able to mountain. Except for drunk driving. So I told him, I said, Mikey, I said, no, I said, things are great. I said, go ahead, so we can get you something going. And then we've got return tickets where we've got money set aside.
Right.
So that 3 weeks later, he said, can I come home? I said, sure. So he comes home. And then it starts all over. Everything was fine, we were good buddies. He says to me, he says, you know, I'm really like with the dishes. And he did the dishes. And he got pissed. And he said I would be disrespectful for some reason. And he went back up the hill, up to the chair. Well, he would send, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, talk.
He would send messages to her. I mean, Susan Dill was a crackhead when I met her. I wasn't ready to do drugs. And we walked for 30 years. She got off the bus. She's just a marvelous thing with animals. She was the nature side.
Right.
He puts out a message the first time he's here about his mother being a crackhead before me. It kind of has to do with my being with her. Then he did it again. He did it again about, he didn't know his what it was like. Anyway, he wrote like 4 or 5 paragraphs. She read them to me, and it breaks her heart. But she sent back a message to her.
Was this on text message?
Yeah. So he came down and I got the gun. For the coffee and she heard her eat when he got physical with her. Then he sent her back a message yesterday.
Did y'all not call? Did y'all call about that? Did y'all call about?
No. You know, he's not gonna first things. And I don't want to. I don't even.
Hey, I'm just listening, okay? Just trying to figure everything out here. So what happened after he poured the coffee on you? Took off? Have y'all seen him since?
No.
You know, you said he was coming back today.
That was the thing. There was a message.
There was a message.
And she said to me.
Do you know what the message said?
Yeah, I'm coming. When I come back, I'm coming to get you. So she thought that that was what the situation was. I don't know.
Just hang tight for us.
Investigator Brazil, you see the time stamp on your body camera there?
Yes,
It's 1934 and 7:34.
correct.
Is that the correct time of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
So this is kind of the initial report to law enforcement from Mr. Brazil. Is that right? The initial statement to you?
Correct, yes.
And he's described this, Mr. Dillo, the victim's son, as violent. They got into a physical altercation, poured coffee on his head, all these things.
Correct.
And that was the first statement that he made
Yes,
regarding the incident or a suspect.
correct, yes.
And what impression did you get from that?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Mr. Brazil is charged with a false report, Your Honor. So if the officer is taking a report of this person blaming someone else, I think it's correct.
What you've asked him what is his impression, which is a subjective answer. So the objection will be sustained on the basis that the cause for a subjective response. I think he can testify about what was said. Clearly, that would be the gravamen of the report that he made would speak for itself.
Yes. So Investigator Grizzard, the report that was made to you, was that about concerning the son
Yes, it was,
and threats that
the way I understood it was that blame was being placed on Mr. Mikey Dillo.
All right, so 7:34, the conversation ends and some time passes, is that right?
Correct, yes.
At some point, you said it was cold outside, you said low 40s.
Yes,
At some point, was Mr. Brazil asked if he wanted to go sit in the car to warm up?
correct, yes.
And at some point, did he avail himself of that opportunity?
Yes, he obliged.
And he's not in custody, he's not anything like that at this point?
To my knowledge, no.
You certainly hadn't wasted custody.
Correct.
Honestly. So did Mr. Brazil, did he ask you about the animals that were there at some point?
At some point while in the backseat of the patrol car, he did ask. He said he told me that he needed to take care of the animals that he had not taken care of that day. I then advised him that I witnessed there was water and food for the outside cat. And then I told him that the dog inside for the time that we were going to be there surely be okay.
So and we saw on the video you talking to a dog.
Correct, yes.
Describe the dog that you saw.
It was a small lap style dog, just a smaller dog that had lots of fur.
And that dog was inside when you first got it.
Correct, yes.
At some point, was it decided to bring the dog to Mr. Brazil
Yes,
and in a kind of in accordance with him wanting to take care of the animals?
correct.
When you went, or I believe investigator Saltkill was the one who actually got the dog.
Correct. I went up, myself and investigator Saltkill, we walked up and opened the front door, and the small dog, I believe the name of the dog was Little Bit, was just inside the front door, I believe under a side table. And that's where the dog was removed from.
And did you and investigator Saltkill walk the dog out to the car and give it to Mr. Brazil?
Correct, yes.
Dog appeared to be healthy.
It was a happy, healthy dog. It was feet tapping, tail wagging whenever we picked it up from inside the house.
Didn't at that point appear to have any serious health issues or anything that you saw?
No, correct.
Later on in that evening, did Mr. Brazil, at some point, did he request a knife from you?
He did. I went to one of the numerous times that I had checked on Mr. Brazil and checked to see if the temperature was good, if he needed water, or anything while sitting in the patrol car. I'd opened the door and he had asked for a knife.
And I guess I should say, it takes some time to process this scene. Is that right?
To my knowledge, I was fairly new on the road at the time, on patrol, but I knew that stuff like this nothing quick would happen.
So Your Honor, going back to this video, if I could introduce that as our next exhibit. And we have a separate clip to be played of this. And that interaction with the knife, was that captured on your body camera as well?
Best of my knowledge, yes.
As you watch this next clip.
No, don't let him run away. You still good back here?
Yeah, no, you would have a knife, that's all, would you?
What you need a knife for? What would you need a knife for?
And the dog used to go. I can't put up one time. That's all the problem. But there it is. I said to myself, I got something might be back here.
All right, well, just hang tight for us, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and this is 0042, so is that about 12:42?
Correct.
A little after midnight?
Yes,
All right, so quite a bit of time has passed here.
correct.
In this clip, and to your recollection, how was the dog doing at this point?
Not well.
Well, had he asked you for what did he ask you?
I mean, he asked for a knife
And what did he say when you asked him why?
that he needed to take care of it. Had things he needed to take care of.
Say,
That it would solve some things.
did you hear him say or recall him saying he can't do it without a knife?
Correct, yes.
The dog needs to go, I can't do it without a knife.
Correct.
It'll solve a problem.
Mhm.
And then did you hear him say something about what the F am I doing back here?
Yes.
No. Was he referring to the patrol car or do you know?
I I would assume he was referring to,
Sustained.
Do you know from personal knowledge what exactly he was talking about there?
no,
Your Honor has to make that the next exhibit if there would be
Look at
response.
the next exhibit.
And then Investigator Grizzard, at some point, did you come back to the car and find the dog deceased or appear to be deceased?
appear to be deceased, yes.
Investigator Grizzard, good luck.
Go back here. What happened?
Quick pause, please, Mr. Evans. Investigator Grizzard, you're about to walk around the car. What did you see there that caused you to walk around the car?
The dog that was lifeless in his lap. I believe whenever I was walking up, I noticed a water bottle that I had given him earlier in the night outside of the patrol car. I kind of raised red flags in a sense to myself.
You said you saw the dog lifeless in his.
It appeared to be lifeless at the time, yes.
Continue, please.
What happened to the puppy dog?
Pause, please.
I just didn't know what happened to the puppy dog. Is it still?
Did you hear him say when I was in there and I did what I was?
In the video, yes, at the time, I don't recall him saying
You didn't
that.
catch on to that?
I did not catch on to it at the time.
Did it word on your body? Yeah.
It did, yes,
When I was in there and I did what I was, and then he kind of trails off. That's all we get.
correct.
All right, continue, please.
Is she okay? All right, well, set the puppy dog over beside of you, okay?
Pause, please.
Just have,
Investigator Grizzard, did you see where Mr. Brazil's hands were placed around the dog at that point when he moved?
Around the neck area of the dog, yes.
Continue, Dan.
all right.
Your Honor, if I could introduce that witness to the next exhibit, please.
Step 5.
All right, so then sometime later in the night, Mr. Brazil was going to go to answer some questions voluntarily of the TBI. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Did you transport him there in your car?
I did.
Right. And was the dog still in the back of the patrol car?
Correct, yes, it was.
So when Mr. Brazil got out of the car, what did you see in the back of the car?
There was fecal matter from the dog. There was a flea collar that was in the patrol car than the dog itself, along with fur from the dog scattered around the rear area of the car.
A lot of fur, or just a little fur?
It was substantial amount. I would say a little bit.
Okay. And then you said a dog collar. Where was the dog collar?
I believe, to the best of my knowledge, it was on the floor.
Was that in there before Mr. Brazil got in the car with the dog?
No.
And was that collected by TBI to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, yes.
One moment, please, Your Honor. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Clemens, you want to cross-examine?
Yes, sir.
Right. Is it Investigator Grizzard?
It is now, yes, sir.
How long have you been an investigator now?
All of about a month and a half.
Correct. And you had not been working too long, it sounded like, when you had this call come in.
Approximately a year and a half on patrol.
It seems obvious that there must have been some screw up. You were responding to this as if it was a medical issue. not realize that it was stabbing. Is that right?
Correct. That's the call that come out. Yes.
Do you, what exactly were you told before you went out?
That there was a female that was found deceased in her house, had a laundry list of medical issues. She was found deceased.
When you first got there, were you alone?
Yes.
And it sounds like your body camera wasn't working at first. Is that right?
Correct.
Had you ever responded to a call where somebody had apparently been killed like that?
No, sir.
Got a hold of how, but it wasn't too long before everybody else got there. Is that right?
Just a short time later.
The name Sherry Carlson. As soon as he said Sherry, you filled in the last name. Did you know her before that?
Yes.
How did you know Sherry
I've
Carlson?
had multiple calls regarding civil issues at her residence because it was going through probate and civil court.
And what's her relationship to this case?
I don't know that there is any other than he said that Mikey Dello had known her.
Did you ever talk to her or anything about this case?
No,
To your knowledge, did anybody ever talk to her?
not to my knowledge.
Did you ever do any investigation other than at the scene that day?
No,
Were you involved in taking an inventory of what was in the house, what wasn't in the house, what was in everybody's pockets, those sorts of things?
at one point, myself and investigator Miller asked if anything was on Mr. Brazil's person, to which he emptied his pockets and I placed them in a bag because I'm notorious for losing things in my front seat. I'll be honest with that. So I placed them all in a bag so that we wouldn't lose anything.
What kind of stuff did he have?
Money and keys, to the best of my knowledge, was all he had in his pockets.
What happened to the money and the keys?
They were all placed into that bag and then passed on to, I believe, TBI or investigator Miller had taken that at some point.
All right. How long was it till TBI got out there? Was it before or after midnight? Do you remember?
Best of my knowledge, it was before midnight.
All right. And he'd been sitting in the car ever since 7:30 when you put him in there?
It wasn't, I don't believe it was 7:30 when we played under the car. Yes, he'd been in there in the warmth all evening. Yes.
You say the warmth. Was it comfortable in the car the whole time?
At one point I had to go back and I checked on it, and the way the partitions are in the vehicle, sometimes to regulate the temperature, it's kind of difficult. He said it was warm. So then I cracked the windows to let some of the cool air in, and I adjusted the temperature in the control bar in the front seat as well.
Was he in there with the door shut or open?
Shut.
Was he able to open that door from the inside
From the inside, no.
or roll down a window or anything?
I'm not sure if the windows work. To be honest, I'm not sure if the windows work in the back control bars.
Well, have you ever been in the back of your patrol car?
No, sir.
Does it have switches for people to roll down their own window?
It does have a switch, yes. I don't know if they work though.
All right. The word voluntarily was used many times when it was described that he was going to go to the station and answer some questions. At any point during your interactions with him, did it ever cross your mind to accuse him of having killed Miss Dillo?
At the time, no, not Miss Dillon.
And his reports about Michael Dillo, his Facebook messages, his threats to her, the prior altercation, where he had attacked both Mr. Brazil and her. Did you ever look in to see whether any of those allegations were true?
I did not personally know.
To your knowledge, did he make any false statement that night?
No.
No further action on it.
Redirect.
So Investigator Rizzard, first, this was not your case to investigate, is that right?
Correct.
Your role was, what was your role?
I was a patrol deputy. I was to answer calls for service.
Okay, and then TBI took over the investigation.
Correct.
Whose decision was it for Mr. Brazil to sit in that car?
TBI.
Okay. Did they make him sit in the car?
No, they asked him, I'm not sure, this isn't verbatim, asked him something along the lines of, would you like to sit in the patrol car where it's warmer?
Okay.
Because it was in the low 40s that night, we were next to a creek, so it felt even colder.
Nobody made him sit in the car.
No, sir.
If he wanted to get out of the car, he could have got out of the car, just like he was before.
Correct.
How often did you check on him?
I'm not sure the exact times.
Once an hour, twice an hour, 10 times an hour?
Probably more than, I mean, I would like to think I'd check on him every 15 minutes, but I can't say for sure.
Sure, not on the dot.
Correct.
Somewhere in that ballpark, would that be accurate?
Every time I felt the need that, hey, go check on him, I would walk over and have a short conversation with him.
Did you have the window cracked in there so that he could holler at you if you needed anything?
Correct, yes, I even told him that, I believe, whenever I opened the door and he sat down the first time, I told him that I would get the heat adjusted to warm it up. Because whenever I was on patrol, I had extra layers of clothes because I didn't know how long if I got called out on a call, I didn't know if I was gonna be in the elements for longer than normal. So typically patrol cars stayed cooler than someone with regular clothing would enjoy. So I warmed it up and then I checked on him sometime later. He said that it was warm. I told him okay, so I cracked the windows even more on his side. And adjusted the thermostat in the vehicle to try to cool it back off to get it more of a comfortable temperature.
Okay. And as far as the time period, the end of the conversation that we saw with y'all on the porch was about 7:30.
Correct.
He didn't go get in the car at that point.
No.
Because you said it was TBI who asked him if he wanted to get in the car, and they weren't there then even.
Correct.
So it was sometime later, maybe quite a bit later.
I'm not exactly sure the time frame, but they were not there at the time. It was sometime that passed before he'd been placed or asked if he wanted to go to the back of the patrol car.
All right, he could have left it and got out of the patrol car at any point.
Mhm.
And as far as the statements he made being true or not being true, you didn't investigate. That was the end of your involvement. Was this
Correct.
That's all.
Recross? Mr. Clemens, you recross?
Yes, sorry. You drove him back to the station,
Yes.
and I believe you put him in the interrogation room and gave him a beverage. Is that
I
right?
walked him in there yesterday and asked him if he'd like anything to drink, and he asked for an ice cold Pepsi. And I believe I went to the patrol refrigerator where we kept beverages and got him a Pepsi and took it to him.
Now, didn't he ask for a Dr. Pepper and you suggested the Pepsi?
Possibly, I'm not exactly sure. I don't recall that too.
You guarded the door for a while there,
I stood there, yes.
and was he free to go at that time?
To my knowledge, he was. I was not investigating anything. I wasn't the one that asked him to go back there.
It had him sitting in front of a mirror. Is that right?
I believe so, to a window mirror, yes, something along those lines.
Was anybody on the other side of that mirror?
To my knowledge, no.
There's a camera recording from the corner, right?
Yes,
Do y'all ever record through the mirror?
not to my knowledge.
At one point you left the room. Have you ever watched the video of what he did while you were outside the room and you being gone and H. Looney coming in?
No, I've never watched the video, of anything that happened in the interview room.
Further questions?
Nothing further.
All right, thank you, officer. You may stand down. You were released from your subpoena. Statement, call your next witness.
Oh, Agent Bramlage. You know, this witness may be lengthy as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, this may be a longer witness. Does anybody need a break right now? Okay, we have, some of the jurors need a recess for a break, so we'll take a recess for 15 minutes, and this will be our afternoon recess.
All right.
Go back to the jury room.
objections, apology, study or interrogation, yes, to the jury, session, not voluntary, no filings or motions to suppress or anything in this issue. That is a very specific legal issue that has to be ruled upon by the not the jury. It's not a fact question. Quasi fact, most of the legal question. That terminology should not be used in questioning.
Ron, I believe my questions were in response to correct statements by by General Turnbow. He used terms like, was he under arrest, was he in custody? And in particular, the term voluntary multiple times to describe my client's statements, responses to questions, and whether he was in the back of a patrol car. Issues that are being raised in order to point out the statements are voluntary, as it being, I don't speculate that the goal is to make it look like my client is giving voluntary statements. If the question of whether the statements are voluntary or not is relevant, I think it's also relevant to now things like, was he locked in that car? Did he have access to a window to get out? Did the station was investigator Bridger standing there in the doorway guarding it or not?
Fairness of the statement by the defendant is a legal issue. The court has to determine if in fact a motion to suppress is filed. And therefore, no motion to suppress has been filed in this case, and therefore there's been ruling by the court as to the voluntariness. So because it's never become an issue, it's never been raised in the form of a motion, I'm instructing both sides from this point forward to refrain from discussing or even going into the issue of whether the statement was made under voluntary or non-voluntary circumstances. I agree that the state, in its direct examination, used that term, voluntary, and I think for that reason that Clemens' cross-examination and the use of those questions that he used was appropriate in light of that fact. Now that we have addressed this issue, I believe it is inappropriate for us to go into the issue of whether or not the defendant's statements were voluntary, not voluntary, or whatever, are admissible because there's been no motion filed to suppress. Therefore, there is no issue for the jury to decide. It would have been my issue if it had been raised. So everybody understands what we're doing. From this point, what's happened thus far, I think it's fair game for both sides. At this point, we're not going to go into it anymore.
Yes,
Thank you. Right. We agree. In case you need to know, I'm taking a direct offer for the law firm. It will make any difference. All right, back from the toilet. Step up, raise your right hand, look first person.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, help you God. Thank you.
State your name before.
My name is April Bramlage,
How do you spell that?
BRAMLA.
Who you mean?
I'm a special agent forensic scientist in the National Crime Lab beside the toxicology unit.
What are some of the training and experiences you've had?
I have a Bachelor of Science in Biology at the University of South Florida in Tampa, Florida, and a Master's in Forensic Toxicology from the University of Florida in Gainesville, Florida.
Did you also receive some on-the-job training or specialized training from Team Tiggio?
As far as my daily duties?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. So your daily duty is in forensic toxicology, is that correct?
that's correct.
In this case, you were assigned to violent crime response.
I was. I've been with the Bureau for 16 years. About 15 of those I've been assigned to a violent crime response team. And the last 5 of those I've been placed in charge of the team.
What is the violent crime response?
So the violent crime response team are trained individuals. We have to go through when I went through a 4-week training program, how to process the scene, how to collect the scene, how to document the scene, how to package any evidence, return it to the lab securely. So we are called out by request of law enforcement agencies to respond to state across the state.
And specialized training for your daily activity, BBI, forensic toxicology, and other training for the crime scene.
The process.
Crime scene, right? 4-week training.
That was.
And you are one of the team leaders. What is that?
So that means my duties are, in addition to myself working a scene and processing it, my main goal is to ensure that the members of the team have what they need to process the scene, to organize them, communicate with the agent on the scene or the law enforcement agency on the scene, what tasks we need to work on and what goal we need to finish that scene, to collect all that evidence, secure it, and then bring it back to the laboratory so that it process for full there.
So like you're kind of the manager of the scene and the people on the scene.
Basically, I'm the extra set of hands if somebody.
How is the team?
So it's composed of individuals based mostly on their discipline. So I work in toxicology. Toxicology is not necessarily something you do on a crime scene. So when I was just starting doing scenes initially, I was a documenter. My job is to draw the scene out, observe what everybody's doing, and write down what they're doing. If I were to work in DNA or forensic biology, I'm going to collect biological evidence or what I believe to be biological evidence. If I work in firearms, I do firearms. So it's catered to what you work in the laboratory is what you're going to be focused on in the scene.
Sounds like the team is comprised of several people from specialized.
Correct.
And then everyone works their specialized.
Yes, and if there's not your discipline on the scene, if there's not the biological evidence on the scene, you're going to be asked to help maybe the firearms person. It's a group effort to finish the task.
So when an agent, a CBI agent, field agent who's working whatever, working at the scene, they see they need more help, is that when y'all are called in?
Typically, yes.
And you make a report of the activities of the team?
I do.
And you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
This is a copy of the official crime scene report that I issued on December 16th, 2000.
And what time, well, so y'all were called out to the scene according to this document on October the 19th, received a call 9:38 p.m.
I did personally, yes.
You personally received,
Yes.
and what time did the team arrive on scene?
We arrived on the scene next day, October 20th, 21, at 12:36 a.m.
This afternoon.
Yes.
What's the first thing that you personally do when you do?
The first thing I'm going to do is try to find the agent in charge of the scene and get a briefing from them on what's going on, where we need to go, how we need to work it. Once I communicate with them, I'm going to do a walkthrough of the scene with that agent or local law enforcement agency, the head investigator. Typically, I'm going to bring couple of different discipline people in. I'm gonna bring the microanalysis person in. Microanalysis, they're gonna look for shoe impressions for very delicate evidence. I want them to find, mark off, the rest of it don't. Depending on the scene of firearms, I bring a firearms person in. Everything, but at the minimum, me and the head agent look at my case.
I need an overview, speed, field agent, figure out what needs to happen.
What needs to be done. And then my job is to go ahead, go back to the team, relay, and come up with a plan, how we're gonna work.
What was the plan this night in particular?
So this night, after communication with Special Agent Taylor Looney, it indicated there may be some microanalysis shoe impressions inside the home. So when we first got there, about the microanalysis, we had 2 individuals working microanalysis that night due to the potential for a lot of microanalysis evidence. So those 2 individuals, myself and Agent Looney, went into the scene and assessed what was going on and marked some areas that we want to make sure we were.
So microanalysis.
I don't work in micro. I'm sure there's a very technical, lovely way they explain it. But it's a little bit of a catch-all. They do shoe impressions, fire impressions, stains, gunshot residue. They do kind of a catch-all in the lab.
And some of those things seem like it would be very easy to disturb, such as micro goes first.
Yeah.
They mark those areas so
They do.
after micro is going to come in and do that, everybody else can kind of fill their roles.
Yeah, so once we kind of made that first walkthrough, we came out, so we marked those areas. I came out and indicated to the rest of the team that we're gonna work this team in shifts. Microanalysis is gonna do their job first, take care of all the evidence collection and documentation they need to do. The rest of us outside and document anything on the outside. It was dark when we arrived, so we weren't able to do a lot of thorough searching until the sun came up. But just to let them do their job inside, be done, and then the rest of us could go in to process them.
Are photographs taken at the scene?
Yes,
And then you did not personally take yourself.
I did not. I passed the camera around to individuals and asked them to take photographs.
You were all around the scene and all the scene as it was.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hand you. Is that a photograph from residents?
It is.
Is that the same photograph? Jim? What is that?
So this is just a photograph of the scene, how it appeared that night when we first arrived. This would have been taken shortly after my briefing with the team and kind of the tiny duties.
Front of the residence?
It is.
The white vehicle.
There is.
Does that belong with this residence?
It does.
Make that next. Is that another picture of this residence from the different angle?
It is.
Better shot of it, side angle and better shot of the vehicle.
Correct.
Let's make that next. That photograph from the
This is a photograph of that white vehicle just from a rear view angle. So you can see the tag, the orientation zone.
and that appears to the, what kind of vehicle is that?
A Kia Sorento. This is, you're walking right up the steps to the front door of the residence.
Was this kind of hidden by the trees when we were further away?
Yes, further back, there's a lot of brush, a lot of trees, but this was the main front. As soon as you enter the front door, this is what you see. There's like a dresser right in front of the doorway, a chair there, and then you see a bathroom on there.
So when you walk into the residence, you walk into the living room or the sitting room, of that nature?
We declared it the living room.
Living room. Recognize that photo?
Yes,
And is that the victim in there in the photo?
yes,
Is that the same room that you walk into the house?
correct. So you walk in the route, the front door, this would be a pan to the left.
victim was lying on a couch to the left on the front door view. Just to kind of orient everyone, where does the kitchen go? The kitchen will be directly to your right, or away to the right. You said there's a bathroom straight ahead. I don't believe it's not in this photo. You recall what that room is? That is a bedroom, and we declared a bedroom 1. What is that? This is photographed just to the left of the couch of the deceased. There was a little ottoman, and on that ottoman was this Samsung tablet and this bag of. You said this was usually left of the deceased? Correct. You usually take pictures of copper candies, or there's some significance to this? This was more of a request after we had processed the entire scene. In constant communication, like I said, with the agent, he had indicated some importance of first use cases have to be photographed. The same living room. It is in the same orientation. We see the yellow. So the marker was the first item of evidence to be indicated on the scene as marker 1. That is a RBS, reddish brown staining that we found on the floor inside of the marker.
Is that just a closer up view of that reddish green? As far as where it was located, if you're standing in the doorway as the picture was oriented before, the kitchen is to your right and the victim is to your left, correct?
Correct.
Was that blood, reddish brown stain, excuse me, was that in between the victim and the kitchen essentially?
It was.
Okay. Next exhibit, please, Your Honor. This photograph's a little graphic, but what does that depict there?
This is a photograph of the deceased as we found her.
Okay, and this is her laying on the couch as she was found.
Correct.
The next exhibit, please, Your Honor. And what is that, Agent Bromwich?
So this is that bathroom that, as you're standing in the front doorway, you can look straight through and see that bathroom. We called it bathroom 1.
So this is the couch or love seat or whatever we see there at the bottom of the picture. That's what you see when you immediately come in. Then there's a bathroom behind that.
Correct.
So the victim's off to our left, the kitchen's off to our right.
Yes.
Okay. The next exhibit, please. And we see another marker number 9 in that. What is that pic?
So in that bathroom, there, you can see it in the previous photograph, there was a laundry hamper. And that laundry hamper contained the blue shirt that you see in the photograph and the gray towel that had reddish brown staining on it. And so that was our 9th item that we marked.
The next exhibit, please. Now, Agent Bramlage, as part of your duties, let me ask you this. Are physical items usually collected by the team?
Yes.
Okay. And as part of your duty, do you submit those to the laboratory?
We do.
Right. So you kind of take over those things and get them in charge of getting them submitted and getting them tested.
Yes. So after we get back to the laboratory, I am the one that does the actual submission of all of the evidence to the laboratory itself and goes through evidence proceeding.
I'm going to hand you that one here. I've got some gloves for you. While you're getting those gloves on, Agent Bramlage, so evidence is collected by the team, then you take custody of it.
Correct.
How is it submitted to the lab? What's the process there?
So I am essentially an outside agency when I work a crime scene and bring evidence back. So I submit evidence just like any other agency in the state that submits to the TBI. I have to fill out a request form. I have to itemize all those items of evidence that I'm going to be submitting. And I have to put in requests for the types of testing that I'm requesting being performed on that evidence.
So you submit it to the lab. Does it go into like a safe secure area at the lab?
Yeah, so in the laboratory, first of all, to even get into the evidence proceeding, you have to be buzzed in. If you're coming outside agency, you have to be buzzed in, or you have to have key card access as an employee. Once evidence receiving takes in the evidence, they're going to take the paperwork, take documentation that's on the items of evidence, enter it into our laboratory system. It's going to create a unique laboratory number. That number tracks that case and that piece, all the pieces of evidence with it, throughout the laboratory for its entire existence. That number is unique to that case and only that case throughout the entire history of the Bureau. So once they're done doing all of that kind of data processing work, they will secure it into our very large and very secure access vault until it's ready to be assigned testing for DNA or firearms or whichever unit.
Okay. And then that unit comes and gets those, brings it, tests it, and takes it back.
Correct. They work in their unit.
All right. So if you could, is every bag or every exhibit that's collected, are they given markings to show what's kind of going on with it?
Yes, evidence receiving has standard operating procedures, and in those standard operating procedures, they have mandatory items that have to be on the evidence before you can submit it.
And then we see some tape and some initials appears on this side of the bag. What does that signify?
So that is showing it is a secure, sealed piece of evidence. So with the tape, I'm closing it shut, but my initials are showing, or not my initials, but these initials are showing that it's been sealed. And without that on there, it's not considered a sealed item.
All right. And those initials are BH. There was a person on the team, Bailey Bertman.
Yes.
Would that be who collected that evidence from the scene?
Yes.
If you would open up that bag and show us what's in
Yeah, I got a pocket knife.
I got one.
I mean, all of us reaching for a pocket knife. Hmm.
You like to open it, you said?
Yes, please.
Would scissors be easier for you?
Possibly.
There
I
you
don't
go.
want to puncture anything. Thank you.
Yes, please, if you would, and display them to the jury.
Can I stand up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Is that okay with you? I don't give it instructions.
Sorry.
Feel free to stand there.
I'm a toxicologist.
Agent Bramlett, would that be the towel that was collected from the scene?
Yes.
All right. That we just saw in the photograph? And is there appear to be some sort of reddish brown stain on there? Is that the reason the towel was collected? Is there anything else in that bag?
There it is.
All right, you could display that for the jury.
There's a t-shirt.
That also have reddish brown stain.
Yes, it does.
All right.
And we'll get
And all those things were depicted in the photograph we just looked at, or that's on the screen now.
Yes.
We can make that the next collective exhibit, Your Honor.
All right, Mark, it's the next collective exhibit.
Agent Bramlett, going back to your report, we'll take just a quick break from the photos. Marker, the report has a section here that's called marker, and there's a series of numbers underneath that. So marker number 9, was that the towel and the shirt that we just looked at?
Yes.
And it has exhibit over here next to the side. What does that mean? What does the exhibit column mean?
So the exhibit is then when evidence receiving is taking things in, they're going to label exhibit numbers to everything to then further track that specific piece of item. So that specific packaging, that bag, has case number and then an assigned exhibit number, in this case exhibit 6, so that any documentation would reflect that case number, item 6.
So when we get lab reports, if there are more lab reports in the case, we're going to see like lab exhibit with a number.
Yes.
Does that relate to this number here?
Yes, and then there'll be a small description, which is what I have here, of what that item is.
Okay, so marker 9 is a lab exhibit 6, and it's the towels and shirt from bathroom.
Correct.
And that's just what we saw in that bag.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Next, next picture, please, Mr. Edwards. All right, so here we see, so that bathroom is behind us now, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and is this one of those photograph, or the items of interest that you got from Agent Looney that was photographed later? We see the sun's up.
Yes. He indicated to us some interest in a Dollar General receipt. So in our ending search of the scene, we found that receipt that you see on the table was in that hole.
Next exhibit, please, Your Honor.
So mark this the next exhibit in order.
And then is this a close-up photograph of that receipt?
Yes, it is.
And about just above the barcode, does that have a time on the receipt?
Says 2021-10-19, the date, and it says 11:01:20. So 11th hour, 1 minute, 20 seconds.
All right, so this receipt appears to be from October the 19th of 2021 at 11:01.
Yes.
All right, next exhibit, please, Your Honor. All right, Mr. Etheridge, if you could go to the next slide. So this is photographs already in evidence, just kind of reorienting everyone. Where are we looking now?
So you're standing in the front door, just looking directly into the home.
Where is the kitchen?
The kitchen is to your right.
Here's another photograph. What do we see in that picture, Agent Brown?
So this is the kitchen sink. As you walked into the kitchen sink was to your right, basically facing the front of the home. And inside of that sink, there was a knife with reddish brown stain.
We can make that the next exhibit, please, Your Honor. What is in this photograph, Agent Brown?
So this is a close-up of that knife found in that sink.
Is that the same photograph we see on the screen there?
Yes.
All right, and this is the knife as it was found in the sink.
Correct.
And the reddish brown stain, is that what we see just above the handle of the knife?
Yes.
And we can make that the next exhibit, Your Honor. I'm gonna hand you this bag. I neglected to do that a moment ago. The receipt, was it collected as evidence?
It was.
And could you open that, please?
I have trouble with this book. 1 moment.
So you need a knife now?
I got it. There we go.
Is that the receipt as it was collected from the scene?
It is.
We can make that the next exhibit, please, Your Honor.
All right.
And Agent Bramlett, I believe you said the knife was collected from the scene.
Yes.
Does that appear to be the box that the knife was collected into?
Yes.
If you would open that to the jury as well, please, ma'am.
Got a lot more to it than we've
Okay.
got.
Now that one, you may want a knife to open that box here. Dale, you or me are gonna go out, draw our knife first.
Agent Bramlett, could you take that out of the box for the jury there, or is it secured in there?
It's loose.
Is that the reddish brown stain that appears to be on the,
So on this, yeah. You'll see there and flip it as well.
we can make that the next exhibit, please, Your Honor. We still have the on Agent Bramlage. I'll give you another one.
Sort of, Jen.
You know better than me.
Thank you.
Neglected to get the chocolates when we had the picture of the chocolates.
Okay.
Set the bag pretty just selected.
It is, and obviously it's
Slightly melted.
been processed, obviously.
Okay. If we can make that the next exhibit, please, Your Honor.
Really?
Turning back to your report, Agent Bramlage,
Okay.
Are all those items, we'll start with the knife, is it listed on your collection here? Is that exhibit number 7, marker number 10?
Yes, it is.
And then the receipt looks to be lab exhibit 17,
Correct.
and the candy appears to be lab exhibit 12 and marker number 19.
That is correct.
All right, and again, all these will kind of coincide with further reports from
Yes.
later on.
Once you get to later reports, it's the exhibit number you're gonna
The
be.
exhibit numbers, the marker number becomes irrelevant basically after this. Okay, that's just for y'all's purposes on seeing the document.
Correct.
All right. Mr. Etheridge, if we could go back to the next picture here. All right, go back just one for us if you would, Mr. Etheridge. So when you walk into the kitchen, which is to the right of the front door, where is the sink located in the kitchen?
Just to the right there.
All right. And what is in front of you? If the sink's to your right, what's in front of you?
There's a table, a kitchen table there, and then a doorway to like a den, or we call it the entertainment room. And then further back is an additional bathroom. If you're standing in the kitchen, to your right is the sink, to your left is another bedroom. We declare it bedroom 2.
I can show you this photograph. Forward to there, Mr. Etheridge. What does that appear to be, Agent Bramlage?
So this is, like I mentioned, standing in the kitchen, looking straight ahead through the doorway into what we call the entertainment room.
We got the next exhibit picture. Agent Bramlage, is that a photograph kind of standing in that entertainment room as you described it, looking back towards the kitchen?
Yep, that's if you walk through that previous doorway and turned around. Now you're looking back to the kitchen.
Okay. And to your recollection, was there a reddish brown stain found on that doorway?
There was, I believe it was marker 14. It was on the right side of the door frame, about the height of the doorknob.
So that was marker number 14, which is exhibit number 2 for the lab. Appears.
Yes, because it was a swab. They ended up taking a swab of the stain.
We can make that the next exhibit, Your Honor. Agent Bramlage, what is that?
So in that room, there was this orange chair, and on that orange chair was a pair of jeans that had reddish brown staining, and we marked that as number 11.
All right, Mr. Etheridge, if you could go back one photograph. So that orange chair that's kind of next to the kitchen almost, is that where those jeans were found?
Yes, and that's the jeans you see there laying on them.
And then forward one, please, Mr. Etheridge. And that's the photograph that you're looking at there?
Correct.
Okay, we can make that the next exhibit, Your Honor. Agent Bramlage, is that just a closer up view of that reddish brown stain?
It is. Part of our procedure is to take photographs of evidence, getting closer to the evidence. This is for the scale to kind of give an idea of the size of the staining that's found.
And those jeans, were they also collected?
They were.
Your Honor, if we can make that last photograph the next exhibit, I think.
All right.
We can do that. Now, those jeans that were collected, Agent Bramlage?
They are.
And do you see where the reddish brown stain was on the jeans?
Yeah, the photo
that you saw with the scale was at this right here, which is what we saw at the time. Well, it was just kind of crumpled up on the chair. But as you can see, there's more reddish brown staining on the front.
We can make that the next exhibit.
Good. It's the next exhibit in order.
Hand you another photograph here, Agent Bramlage. What does that show?
Right behind that chair, there was a dresser, and just to the right of the dresser, you're gonna see that, what's really like a canvas print or canvas photo. The marker 22 is actually indicating the reddish brown stain that you see on the canvas, just on the edge.
So that's, you said marker 22, which would be lab exhibit 15.
Yes.
All right, if I can make that the next exhibit, please, Your Honor. And is this just a closer up photo of that reddish brown stain?
Yes, it is.
The next exhibit, please, Your Honor. And that canvas, Agent Bramlage, was it collected as well?
It was.
The next photograph there, Agent Bramlage, what are we looking at there?
So this would be if you, coming in from the kitchen, walking into the entertainment room, you're gonna look a little to the left. The chair, that orange chair is just to your right out of the photograph. And you can see the television there, and there's a bathroom that we call bathroom 2.
So the chair and the canvas are like to your right or behind you a little bit?
Just a
from where
little
that
bit
photograph
behind, to the right.
The next exhibit, please. Your Honor. What is that, Agent Bramlage?
So on the floor in that bathroom 2, we found some underwear and socks.
They're just kind of laying there. Next exhibit, please, Your Honor. Agent Bramlage, is that just kind of a more overall view of that bathroom?
Yes, yes, and you can see one pair of underwears and looks like one of the socks just directly at the bottom of the photograph in that bathroom.
All right. Next exhibit, please, Your Honor. And what are we looking at here, Agent Bramlage?
So in that first photograph, you saw behind the blue underwear, there was a garbage bag with these towels on top. This we found reddish brown staining on it, and we marked it as like marker 12.
All right, so that'd be marker number 12 and lab exhibit number 9. That's right.
Yes,
Next exhibit, please, Your Honor. And that towel, was it collected as well, Agent Bramlage?
it was.
I think this is our last one of these. Agent Bramlage, all these items that we've introduced, they were all collected by the VCRT and then submitted to the lab for testing.
Yes,
And then it's up to the individual disciplines to test them and write a report or however they do that.
yes.
Few more photographs. What do we see there, Agent Bramlage?
As you walk into that bathroom 2, that black trash bag was right in front of you. To your left is the shower.
And are there any, can you see any spots in that photograph?
So there's, I don't know how to describe it. It just looks like straight ahead in the photograph, you see reddish brown staining on the wall of the shower. And then above the little handrail bar, there's another spot of reddish brown staining.
Next exhibit, please, Your Honor. Agent Bramlage, is that just like a closer in view of exactly where we were looking with the staining?
Yes, it is.
And marker number 13?
Yes, we marked, there were several spots of reddish brown staining inside of this tub. We just marked the entire tub as 13. And then the serologist on the team made individual collections of those stains.
The next exhibit, please, Your Honor. Agent Bramlage, were there actually several more spots in that tub? Or is that what we're looking at?
Yes, there were 7 total spots of reddish brown staining that were swabbed.
So what we're looking at, like directly in the middle of the photograph, is that kind of the back left of the tub from where we're looking?
Right, right. So you can see the shower curtain, pulled all the way to the back. So where it says 7, there's a black Sharpie circle and the number 7 written there. That was the 7th reddish brown staining that was swabbed. Of course, you see 1 right there in the top in the middle. That was the first staining of reddish brown that was swabbed. And then you go through the tub and there's 7 total.
Next exhibit, please. Agent Bramlage, this is the, I guess, the front of the tub where you turn the water on.
Right,
There are other stains there on the front of the
there
tub.
were, that whole area indicated with the Sharpie marker as for the fourth area.
Next exhibit. And then last photograph there, Agent Bramlage, what are we looking at there?
The top right corner, you can barely see the third stain. And then of course, the area marked with Sharpie, you can see the fifth stain and the sixth stain there on the lip of the tub.
We can make that the next exhibit. And so we have these reddish brown stains all over the tub essentially.
Yes.
And you said that was marker number 13 and lab exhibit number 2. So when we're looking at your report, there's several markers that are all at lab exhibit 2. And those are swabs. What does that mean? What are we talking about?
So the serologist, the forensic biologist, the DNA person, however you want to declare them, but they're going to go through, because you can't necessarily collect an entire wash, bathtub and take it back to the laboratory. So they're going to take clean swabs of that area, package it into a small individual box, and then just so we don't have all these little boxes all over the place, we put all the swabs that take from the scene, all those individual boxes, place them into one bag, and I submit that one bag is just swabs from the scene. So that's why you're seeing exhibit number 1 with exhibit number 2 with multiple marker names with it.
Okay, so they're each in their own individual box, but then they're all in a
Correct.
bag, so they're all kept separate.
They are kept separate from each other, yes.
And we see the same thing with the shoe impressions, like exhibit 3, but we have several marker numbers. Same kind of scenario there.
Same scenario where the microanalysis individual, they have these, it's very sticky gel type material that they can put on a possible shoe impression and then peel that up and essentially take it's almost like when you're getting your fingerprints done, you're just rolling it on the paper, they're essentially going to take that paper with them. And that's what they analyze. So same idea, they're all packaged separately in boxes, and then we put them into one giant box to submit to the lab.
If we could just briefly go through the swabs, which is exhibit 2. There was a swab with marker number 1, which was that, is that the reddish brown stain in the living room?
Yes.
So directly inside the front door, it's right in front of you there.
Correct.
All right, and then marker number 13, what was that a swab of?
So that was that collection of the 7 locations inside the bathtub.
Marker number 14, what was that a swab of?
That was the reddish brown staining found in the door frame on the inside of the entertainment room.
Then we also have a number of other items that were collected that we haven't necessarily gone through, but were all those collected and submitted to the lab under your custody?
Yes.
All right. And that report that you have, is that a complete report that you composed?
It is.
Your Honor, if we can make that the next exhibit. That's my questions, Judge.
Clemens, you have cross-examination?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Noon.
Hello.
Did you collect any of these items yourself?
I did not personally know.
Did you take any of the photos yourself?
I may have taken photos of some electronic devices that we found at the end of our processing. I may have taken a photo of the receipt, but I did not take all of the photographs now.
Do y'all track who actually picks up these items in bags and
Yes.
such?
Yes.
I suppose, were you able to tell when you opened these bags who had put them in there?
That's the initials on the seal that you see. So
Did you recognize all the initials?
yes,
Is that how y'all track things?
I have a separate sheet of paper called the evidence log that indicates the marker number, the item number, the description of that item, and the date, time, and who actually collected that item.
You said the receipt that was photographed was actually inside the bowl.
It was inside the bowl, yes.
How did you know that?
We were just doing our processing of the scene, looking for Agent Looney indicated to try to see if we could find a Dollar General receipt. So in our processing, we found that receipt. Part of our procedure when we're kind of done marking a scene is, for lack of a better term, toss the house. We're going to go through the house and find everything we can find and kind of go deep.
Do you know who found the receipt?
I can look. Clark Davis, he was the latent person I'm seeing.
Does he work for you?
He works for the TBI.
Works for the TBI?
Yes,
Were you involved at all then in the collection of that?
I oversaw the collection of it as the person in charge of the scene.
Okay, so you were in charge of the scene.
Yes,
He doesn't work for you, but you're in charge. He collected that and he found that receipt in the vault.
yeah, I'm not technically his supervisor, but I'm in charge of dictating who's doing what and what's going on the scene.
Okay. The tablet and the
Yes.
Hershey's Kisses.
Yes,
They look like they've been posed there. Do you know whether they were found laying there next to each other like that, or had somebody put them there?
that is
like
how we
this?
found them. There are photographs that we take as soon as we enter the scene. We photographed the scene entirely. That's why some of those photographs you saw didn't have a marker in it, and then later on they did have a marker. So that is exactly how we found it. Is how you see it in the photographs.
And do you know what happened to the tablet?
The tablet, we collected it and I submitted it to our technical services unit.
All right. Do you know what happened with it after
I
that?
do not.
You didn't collect any of the items you said, nor did you take any of the photographs.
I took some of the photographs. I personally did not collect the items, no, but I directed the individual's collection.
You didn't put any of these items in the bags yourself.
No, I did not.
Sounds like basically you were in charge. Everybody else did the work. You read and you talked to them and prepared the report after.
I am in charge of the scene. It is my scene. It's my job. I'm responsible for anything and everything that goes on the scene. So therefore, yes, I do prepare the report. I'm helping the individuals process the scene, doing anything they need to accomplish the goal of getting that scene processed properly.
And other than collecting the evidence, did you yourself or anyone that you were supervising perform any analysis tests?
There were no on-scene analysis done now.
Any off-scene analysis?
That would be everything done in the laboratory.
Okay, and you're not involved with that part.
I am not.
No further questions.
Redirect.
Agent Bramlett, I probably should have gone over this before. Every person who is on the violent crime response team, do they work for the TBI lab?
Yes,
They all been trained in their specific disciplines.
they have, and they've further gone through specific crime scene training school.
So they all know how to process a crime scene.
Yes, that's the main thing is each individual knows how to process the scene. And then you can process your discipline specific, but if asked, if that's not your discipline, you still know how to do the basic collection of the evidence.
And there are procedures that are to be gone through in a crime scene.
Yes, and there's extensive standard operating procedures that we must follow as an accredited agency.
And ultimately, when you're the team lead, it's your job to make sure those are followed.
It is,
And were those followed on this scene?
yes.
That's all you're.
Recross.
Do you recall personally observing anyone collecting any of these items?
Yes,
Which ones?
I remember Clark Davis collecting the bleach bottle.
A bleach bottle?
There was a bleach bottle. I remember,
Of the items we've talked about today, the ones we showed the pictures of, the ones you pulled out of the bags, any of those do you remember yourself?
I do. I remember the collection of the canvas. I remember the collection of the towel in bathroom 2. I remember those specifically.
Okay. Further questions?
Nothing further.
Thank you, Agent. You may step down and we're releasing you from your subpoena.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Statement, call your next witness.
The state calls Agent Looney.
The council approach.
You may. Ladies and gentlemen, the state advises me that their next witness is going to be Agent Looney, who is going to be very detailed and very lengthy in his testimony. It's already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This is your first day. we're going to go ahead, rather than keep you here till 7 or 8 o'clock tonight, we're going to go ahead and take a recess and adjourn for the day and allow you to go home and then come back. I would remind you of your instructions that I've given you not to try to do any research about this case. Don't try to look anything up about it. Don't watch any of 2020 or Dateline or any of those kinds of things that have murder cases on it. Just forget about that. Forget about this case until tomorrow morning when you come back. Don't let anyone talk to you about it. Don't do any research about it. Don't look on the YouTube for anything about this case, please. Follow those instructions. You are free to go until tomorrow morning. And if I could have you back here by 8:45 at the latest, then we'll get started promptly at 9 o'clock. All right. Thank you. You may be on your way. All right, we stand adjourned until tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
All rise.